Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. This is week 5 and I am Mahvesh from APSEC's Fort Road. For this week in grade 6, we will discuss about the evidences for the particle model. Students, in this lecture you will be able to use the particle model to explain the existence of particles and to describe that not only are particles very small and numerous, but that they are also able to move. You have discussed these points in your previous week, but we will describe or elaborate more in our upcoming slides. Before starting my lecture, I have some questions. Number 1, do you remember the assumptions of the particle model? Students, in the previous week, we have discussed the particle model theory and it have 3 assumptions. Just recall the assumptions. Number 2, is there any evidence that particles actually exist? How can you prove it, especially for gas? Students, in the gases, the distance between the particles is very large and there is almost no attractive forces between the particles and their movement is very fast. So, do you have any proof that particles actually exist? Let's start our topic related to these questions. Let's start from our first evidence that particles exist. Students, have you ever noticed how a balloon always goes down after a while? No matter how tightly the balloon is tied, the air inside always seems to escape and the balloon will become deflat. Why is it so? आप अगर कुछ डेज के लिए बैलून को टाई अप करके रखते हैं, उसमें एयर फिल करके रखते हैं, कुछ दिनों के बाद आप देखते हैं कि बैलून बिल्कुल डीफ्लैट हो जाता है. What is the reason behind that? The reason is there are very tiny holes present inside the skin of the balloon and the molecules present inside the balloon will escape one by one from the holes and it takes much time and the time comes when the balloon will become deflat. Students, it is a proof or it is an evidence that particles exist. Although we can't see these particles with our naked eye, but the deflatting of balloon or the escaping of molecules from the balloon is the proof that there are something in the balloon which will escape one by one and results in the deflatting of balloon. And what are these? These are the particles. Next is evidence that particles are always moving. Students, in the previous week, we have discussed that particles are always in motion. The particles of the solids, they just vibrate. They can't move. But the particles of the liquid and gases, they can move in all directions. So we will prove this statement with the help of 2 examples. The first is from the particles of the gases and second is the particles of the liquids. So, the first example that the particles are always in motion in the case of gases, we take an example of our daily routine, that is the smell of perfume. If you spray a perfume in one corner of your room, you can see or you can smell the fragrance of that perfume in all directions after some time. What happened actually? अब जब परफ्यूम को स्प्रे करते तो वहाँ पे मॉलिक्यूल्स ज़्यादा होते हैं परफ्यूम के या गैस के पार्टिकल्स ज़्यादा होते हैं एक कॉर्नर में. आहिस्ता आहिस्ता वो वहाँ से ज़्यादा कंसंट्रेशन वाले एरिया से कम कंसंट्रेशन वाले एरिया में मूव करते जाते हैं और वहाँ पर जाके क्या होता है, आपके पास पूरे रूम में जो स्मेल होती है वो इवनली डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हो जाती है एंड यू कैन स्मेल दैट फ्रेग्रेंस इन द अदर कॉर्नर ऑफ योर रूम एज वेल. So, it is a proof that the particles are always in motion. Now, we'll move towards the second example that the particles of liquid are also in moving condition. We take an example of ink that when you put a drop of ink in a glass of water, what happened? Is it dissolved very quickly in the water? No, it takes some time, and after some time it will evenly distributed in all over the liquid, and you can see the water color will change. Means जो भी आप इनका ड्रॉप डाल रहे हैं, whether it is blue, black, red, whether the color is green, the whole water will become of that color, but it takes some time. This movement of particles is called diffusion. What is diffusion? The movement of particles from an area of high concentration towards the area of lower concentration. You can see the diffusion in the gases, as we have discussed in the perfume, in the example of perfume, and the second diffusion also takes place in the liquid, as we discussed in the ink particles, and diffusion is not possible in the case of solids because the particles of the solids are not able to move. Now we have some more evidences that particles are moving. Starting from the Brownian motion. It's a new terminology for you. What is Brownian motion? Brownian motion is actually a random motion. Means a motion of molecule in any direction, in every direction. They will collide with each other, they collide with the wall of the container, they will move haphazardly in all directions. This is called Brownian motion. Now why it is called Brownian motion? It's named after a Scottish scientist called Robert Brown. In 1827, he noticed that pollen grains moved jerkily or vibrate when they placed in the water. Means they will move in all direction. So he said that these pollen grains are the cells or the reproductive cells present in the flowers. So he said that these pollen grains will show the movement in all directions. So he relate these movement with the movement of particles. Then we have another example of smoke particles in the air. Students, you have a diagram in your book. In this diagram, we can see that we have a microscope, we have a smoke glass, and we have illuminated source. He used a smoke cell which is filled with smoke and illuminated from one side of the microscope. When we observe from the microscope lens, we can see that there are a lot of bright specks, or you can say the bright dots or bright spots which move in all direction. They move jerkingly, they will move in all direction, they will move haphazardly. These bright specks are smoke particles which will move in all direction. So we can relate these movement as Brownian motion, and we can say that the particles are always in moving condition. Next is evidence for the space between molecules. We know that the particles of the solid have very small space between them, and liquid have large spaces as compared to solids, and the particles of the gases have much more space as compared to solid and liquid. So we can prove the statement with the help of an example, that alcohol and water. Students, we will take 50 centimeter cubic of alcohol and 50 centimeter cubic of water. इन दोनों को आप मिक्स कर दें. What we will predict? We predict that there should be total 100 centimeter cube, but it's not actually happened. It will reduce to 95. होना 100 सेंटीमीटर क्यूब चाहिए, लेकिन वो कम होके 95 सेंटीमीटर क्यूबिक टोटल हमारे पास आता है. What is the reason behind that? The reason is molecules have spaces. The molecules of alcohol are quite larger as compared to the molecules of water. So alcohol के जो molecules हैं उनके दरमियान space ज़्यादा होती है. So water के molecules जो small होते हैं size में, they will fit in the blank spaces or the empty spaces of the alcohol molecule. और जो हमारे पास total volume आता है, it will become reduced. You can take an example of rice and peas. If we take the 50 centimeter cubic of rice and 50 centimeter cubic of peas, when we will shake both, आप इन दोनों को मिक्स करें. मिक्स करने के बाद टोटल वॉल्यूम वी एक्सपेक्ट दैट इट शुड बी 100, बट it will reduce to 85 centimeter cube. Why is it so? Because the peas, you can consider the peas as alcohol molecule. अल्कोहल भी जो है वो उनका साइज भी बड़ा था एज कम्पेयर टू द वाटर मॉलिक्यूल. सो पीस दे आर as large grains and rice are small grains. Rice will fit in the empty spaces of peas when you will shake. So the total volume will become reduced or small. Next is, what is the effect of temperature on the speed of the molecules? When you increase the temperature or heat, the speed of the molecule will become faster. They will move very fastly as compared to the little heat or the little temperature. And what are amorphous solids? Amorphous solids are the solids which don't have any proper accurate shape. A stands for not or lack of something, and morphous is the terminology stands for morph or form. ठीक है, so you can say these are the solids which don't have any proper shape. For example, glass or plastic, आप उनको melt करते हैं, they will go in any direction, so or in any shape. So you can say these are amorphous solids. Going to recap what we have learned today. We have learned about the evidences that particles exist, evidences that particles are always in motion. We have learned about the Brownian motion and the space between the molecules. Okay students, now if you have any question related to today's lecture, you can ask. Thank you so much and have a nice day.